Hello and welcome. Thank you so much. Let me turn Instagram on. Welcome. If you are joining on Instagram, I want to thank you. And if you're out in the chatmosphere, I want to say welcome. Thank you so much. Look at that IG roller disco. Hermana, hola. Love you and thank you for being here. And Karen is here. Thank you, Karen. How's it going? Greetings. All right, I want to jump right into this topic. And this is a continuation of this conversation. I've been enjoying the subject of Ezra the scribe. I reread the book of Ezra in the canon Bible, the canonized. Okay, so I reread it. It was great to reread that. And I read, as you know, I told you, Second Ezra from the Ethiopian Bible. So it's just a lot that I'm gleaning from it. And I want to compare notes. If you have read from the apocryphal, from the Ethiopian Bible, let me know because I want to, like I said, I want to compare notes with you. Okay, so let's jump into this evening's topic. All right. And it's Ezra in the field, the flower field, and a human crystal radio. Yeah, we love to talk about technology, right? We call it antiquitech, but I like to see whenever I can bring it up. So I want to ask, what if the problem isn't that truth is hidden, but that we've been trained to see through distortion? The scriptures say we see through a glass darkly, but also promise a time when everything becomes crystal clear, or as clear as a crystal. Now, here's the question. What if clarity requires preparation? What if Ezra's fast, eating nothing but flowers and herbs in a field, wasn't symbolic, but instructional? So those are just some questions that I wondered. Hello, everyone. I want to thank you for joining. Hey, Raylene, hello. And Uma's Corner, you're here. Good evening. Thank you so much. All right, so I want to jump in. I know I can get really long-winded. So Ezra, the scribe, all right, he was heartbroken for his people who had been carried away into captivity, Babylonian captivity. And then now Persia. Persia is the empire on top. And Ezra is of the tribe of Benjamin, the Levites, and he's a priest and a scribe. And restoration has to coincide with truth, because restoration builds up the foundations that have been eroded or decayed, deteriorated, whatever, damaged. And this is, we bring up the field of architecture, building and architecture a lot when we go through the scripture. as well as, like I said, agriculture, which is deeply in my DNA, agriculture. But the aspect of architecture, I was amazed. I forgot about this, but if you know about the book of Ezra, I'm still going by my brother's Bible, children's Bible, okay? So in the book of Ezra, they talk about the Masons. Isn't that interesting? Did you, who knew that? Okay, the Masons are mentioned in the Bible. I've read through the Bible before, but I didn't remember this. So this was interesting, okay? Anybody know about that? That the Masons are mentioned? I'll find it for you, okay? If you want to look on your phone or whatever, you'll get there quicker. I should have put a bookmark where I found a reference to the Masons. Anybody want to hurry up and find it with me? Oh, where was it? Where was Okay, is that it? No. Anybody? You don't remember that, IG? I was amazed when I read it. I went outside and I sat in the grass just like a flower child, and I was reading Ezra again. And yes, I came across a reference to the Masons. Also the Porters, the Porters, which Porters, that runs in a lot of the American families, that they worked as porters. I had a porter in my family. So the Porters are mentioned in Ezra a lot. Okay, so hold it. I'm going to have to look it up because I'm not finding it as fast as I want it. Okay, wait a minute. You will wait. Oh, I'm sorry. But I wanted to just mention that yeah, I know that it needs to be talked about more in terms of the origins. Here, I'm going to look it up on the phone, okay? Sorry. Because I do want to just read the exact one. Okay. Again, if you get to it before me, just let me know. Okay, Ezra. Okay. Hi, Gracie. Welcome. We are talking about. Oh, they're giving me some Mason and Ezra. Okay. I'm trying to find. Hey there. So she says, I almost missed this. Been reading the book of Esdras. You have, okay, two. It's a lot to take in. I know. If we could just take it little bit by little bit, okay? Don't worry, because it's new to all of us just to read. Oh, okay. I am just trust that I did see it. I'm going to really try to find it. But I saw a mention of the Masons, according to the the people that were coming out of captivity and to rebuild the holy place. So the Masons were among this restoration team, I'll say. Yes. And oh, you got it, IG. So it's chapter 3, verse 7. Thank you, IG. Sometimes it'll be right there in front of my face. Okay, and it was right there. Ah, and you said verse 7. Yeah, there it is. Thank you. Oh, thank you. All right. So in Ezra chapter 3, verse 7. It says, they gave money also unto the masons and to the carpenters. All right. So this is part of the restoration team. I want you to get into the vibes that this is after captivity, being scattered, being captive to your enemies, after rebellion, after a collapse of your culture, because you've been involved in idolatry, after so many warnings and stiff-necked responses. So now this is where we are in this process. And if you read from the Ethiopian Bible, the second Ezra, Esdras, it's so beautiful. And this is what gave me pause, that I wanted to talk about Ezra in terms of this field of flowers. A field of flowers. Imagine this. We'll refer to this again. Ezra in the Bible. So it's right before Nehemiah, and you know about Nehemiah building the wall. And what's amazing is that in the book of Ezra here, you will see how the king, his heart is turned to do something for the children of Israel. This king is not, anyone that you would expect to do this, but just a fair king. And the Most High puts on this king's heart, which is King Cyrus, Darius as well. All of these kings, Nebuchadnezzar, he was terrible and he did horrendous things to bring the children of Israel into captivity. So after him, you get these kings that are reasonable and their hearts are inclined to do what the Most High puts on their heart. Isn't that amazing? The Most High can make a king do something. All right. I've always loved that. So you have King Cyrus, and you have, like I said, Darius, as well as Artaxerxes. So you have Artaxerxes, and this is where these kings are making merciful as well as monetary. You talk about reparations. The children of Israel left out of captivity with reparations of precious metals and everything they would need to build, even though the building project stopped because their enemies came and did what they do. They started getting involved in making a lot of chaos and confusion and deception and just mixing and mingling and trying to steal identity, I guess you could say. So ultimately, what happens with this king or these kings? They are giving away the reparations in just the most, they are leaving so much. They are leaving with so much. So I just want to make that a note, because I know that topic comes up a lot and people don't understand. Like, I heard one woman say that you have to almost ask so that you can be told no by a king. Or something, she was like, you have to ask for something that you can be told no to. But it was deep, because I was thinking about that. And when you think about identity and really what's going on when we are dealing with understanding who is who right now, and titles and things that have happened in American history. We have been under the biggest deception. Nobody can argue that. And the fakeness of everything is leaving people with such an empty feeling, because we're watching an active collapse of a society, culture. You can look at the Met Gala and all of the weirdness. We've never seen it where people are outright saying they don't want to come. They have a difference of just a worldview. They're standing by their beliefs when it comes to eat the rich, right? They really believe that these people are disgusting and that it's a circus for the elite. And there are people that didn't go because of a lot of reasons, that people, regular people, are disgusted with the elite, with Hollywood, with the government. And at this point, people are just turning to, I don't know, maybe they're turning to more discussions when it comes to spiritual beliefs and things. They're more open. That's why I want to have these conversations, because as you see, celebrity culture is dead. They're not even on life support. If you've watched any bit of the Met Gala, it's a really weird dystopian. It feels like those movies like District whatever, and it's become a parody almost, right? You feel, once you wake up to it, you feel like, am I tripping? You have a young girl who they're celebrating as the youngest girl to come to the Met Gala. And what was she wearing? I don't know. I could be wrong. She's a young girl wearing Balenciaga. Like, the fact that Balenciaga is still a label is beyond comprehension. With all of the exposure, just clearly looking at their ads. That's all you had to do was look at their ads, and to think that anybody would still represent Balenciaga at this point. They are letting you know who they are. A lot of them are doubling down at this point, because their kingdom, their satanic kingdom, is collapsing. Because you need a lot of belief system. You need the belief system to be in high, cranked up high for them to be propped up. In fact, here's my, okay, check this out. Remember we talked about this Potemkin village? So a Potemkin village is what people are waking up to when you think about this reality that we've been served and programmed into. 1 minute, let me just get a little water. All right, so the Potemkin village is just propped up, one-dimensional, to give you the perception that this is real, and it's nothing but a set. A stage set, but it'll look real according to how you can paint and use shadow and color and everything. It will look real, and they incorporated this stuff. They told us in narratives from the 18 and 1700s, but it still goes on. It's not that they've stopped. It was some royal whatever, in Europe, and I don't know, they wanted to show that everybody was doing well, and they were going down a channel of water, and they had these fake, this simulation here, a Potemkin village. That's where it came from. And it was just to fool people, and you hear about that in China. When it comes to China, like I said before, I'm glad that I've gotten to travel to China, because China seems like a giant Potemkin village, because we were sold a lot of lies about China. We were told that they have billions and billions of people over there. And it turns out that that's not the case. They are having population collapse right now. So how are they going to sustain all of these narratives that they were going to just rise up and take over the world? Remember, were you hearing this kind of narrative? Because I was. And now the truth is coming out that China is collapsing in real time. Everything has been a Potemkin village. I mean, they were even doing that during some of the Olympic Games. Remember, they said they only allow you to see certain parts, and it's a lot that's off limits. So you cannot continue to sustain a Potemkin village, because some curious black sheep, some intellectually curious person is going to peek around the corner, and they're going to see the machinations of it all. They're the ones that cannot leave it alone. They saw something weird wait a minute, I saw something weird. Everybody else is going along with it, right? But no, that one or two or whatever, only a few, they have to go around and say, oh my goodness, this thing is one-dimensional. It's nothing behind here. And then everybody says, shut up, you conspiracy kook. Shut up. Let us alone. We want to believe that this is real, okay? So how about, remember the term simulacrum? I have trouble saying this sometimes. Bear with me. A simulacra versus simulation. We've talked about this. Remember, the simulacra is how I remember. It looks like a sleeve, like a skin that you put over the projector or the firmament. I don't know. I'm thinking. And you give this perception of reality. You create the perception of reality. And you keep it fed to the people through propaganda, through the devices, the technology, when it's used in the wrong way. So the Potemkin villages that we have awakened to is because things have gotten so ugly, and you don't know the difference between parody and reality anymore. It's so absurd at times. And we know, a lot of us that have studied and come to where we are today, we know that there was a time in our distant past, not so distant past, I'll say, just the 1800s and just a little bit before that, we know that there was a period of time where we had high civilization, we had high culture, we had beauty, and our culture talked about the Most High, the Most High Yah, was a part of the culture, of the art, of the music. And we know that that had to be a time of high culture, because you look at everything, that it has such a opulence to it, a beauty in design. Everything was authentic. It stood the test of time. It was timeless. They had the joke about the what is it, the refrigerator, Maytag, or what was the other company? And you couldn't buy a new version because it never broke down. Maytag, was it? And that was the joke of the company, is that you're going to buy their product and it's built to last, and you're not going to have to buy another one for, who knows, a long time. Now that's a joke. It's the joke became the joke, Thank you for my I knew my people. You're saying a soliloquium? I wrote, okay, simulacra, simulacra, and a simulation, right? So yes, Lady DMG, you know what I'm talking. GE, that was GE, okay, General Electric, yeah. So basically, this is what people talk about with the simulation. That's why we have a lot of people experiencing a feeling of emptiness right now, something they can't put their finger on, but they don't feel right. Something feels off. A lot of young people, if you just go through a lot of testimony of young people, they're feeling this. I played some of the testimonies, remember last time? So back to what a lot of us that believe in the short season and things like that, we understand that at the time when we identify patterns of high culture, high art, everything was beautiful and opulent, like I said, and quality was very high. You look at the clothing, it was created to last. The textiles were very opulent. I keep using that word. And we were highly industrialized at the time. And then something happened where everything got inverted. And what was good became bad. What was bad became good. And good is seen as boring, corny. And bad is sexy and fun. And they de-theized our culture. They took God out of everything. They took God out of our schools. Our children used to pray. Wow, what a concept. We don't want to get them into that, huh? Praying. You didn't need to check for weapons or anything when the children prayed. So they de-theized us and de-industrialized our cities. And I was born in one of these, maybe a Potemkin village city, Gary, Indiana. My father worked there right out of college in the steel industry, the steel factory, and the town was built like a a little company town. Gary, Indiana was. And if you look at some of the pictures, it's like this. It's a Potemkin village. It's deindustrialized. It's unbelievable. The decay. It was just gutted out. And it used to be humming with prosperity. And this happened to many of our cities. So they deindustrialized. Everything became ugly. The architecture is ugly. Everything's become ugly. You look at the Met Gala And Cardi B is wearing a dress that people, and I know it's costume, but the fact that the minds is so darkened that they would create something so ugly that it looks like it came from, it looks like, I don't want to, it's so gross looking. You know what I'm talking about. And why, what kind of mindset have we allowed to take over our institutions of culture? We have a bunch of Satanists that have taken the wheel, and they've taken it to a point where there's no redeeming it. You know, you look at the Met Gala, this should be the end of the Met Gala, whatever it is. It's disgusting. They're at the end of their rope. So it's the simulation, it can't be sustained at this point. So going back to Ezra, and Ezra being a scribe, he really needed to help the children of Israel, which had been in captivity. And captivity is going to really take your mental, your mental state, because you capture people not just physically, but you capture them in their mind. And that's where they really work on it. Your mind, your spirit, your soul, where you will exchange good for bad and bad for good. You'll accept it and go along with it. And, a lot of us are silent, and we have allowed the angry mob to just take the megaphone and just scream and squeal like demons for decades. We're now starting to really take the megaphone away from them, and we're doing it by more of us speaking and making a stand and saying and pushing back on the culture that is so depraved, and not allowing them. Do you know they are in real time trying to rewrite history as we speak? If you ever go on X, former Twitter, that's when you get to see a lot of things in real time going on, being reported and discussed. Well, they are trying to rewrite our modern mythology, I'll say, because we do have mythology in we are postmodern. I don't want to say we're modern, because we're no longer modern. We are postmodern right now, in my opinion. If you have another opinion, share it. But I would consider us postmodern. So in a postmodern world, at this point, if we are not pushing back on the insanity, then we are to blame for why we allowed it to get this far. And like I said, they are rewriting our modern mythology as we are sitting here right now. And that is, okay, Michael Jackson and the movie that came out, and it has broken box offices, and people are showing their hand. There's a whole team that is anti Michael Jackson, and they hate him. They hated him and continue to hate him, and they have a smear campaign that has not stopped. You can see the division is very clear. People that support Michael Jackson, people that have abandoned him, some that are, Judases, they'll turn on you just to go with the crowd, those kind of fair weather friends. And, you have those kind of people. And then you have people that really believe he did these things. So it's a lot of division going on. But what I am witnessing in real time of what they're trying to actually rewrite history is to say that Beyonce is the bigger star in terms of influence and star power overall. They are trying to write her as the queen of pop, I guess, because they called Michael the king of pop, and I guess no one really tried to refute it. And I think he accepted the title. If he hadn't maybe started it, I don't know. But to try to gaslight the world to believe that Beyonce is a bigger star than Michael Jackson, you got to be kidding me. And that is what's happening right now, you all. And they're going by the fact that she has all of these she has Grammys where you have people that are really good out here have 0 Grammys. But she's got all these Grammys and they're showing the numbers, but people are not going along with the narrative. You will see that also in real time. As much as they want to rewrite history, they can't, because they've never had the internet like this, where they're being fact checked left and right. They're not able to run with narratives anymore. And they can't break another star. They'll never have a Michael Jackson. That's it. They'll never have a Beyonce. I mean, I'm not going to knock her talent, but there'll never be another Beyonce. She's probably the end of the road for these kind of super whatever stars. It's over. The whole star celebrity culture has collapsed, and it's not to be revived. We have to let it collapse. Okay, so with the collapse that happened during the time of Ezra the scribe, he's writing, narratives. He's writing what he is being instructed to write, and he is praying to the Most High Yah for understanding and wisdom. And he is given dreams, and he's taken by the angel Uriel. We read in the Ethiopian Bible of his adventure and the angel instructing him and being like a Sherpa, taking him to places, mountains and fields of flowers. And meanwhile, the children of Israel continue with being rebellious. That is one of the toxic traits, rebellion. Stiff-necked, can't tell them anything. And they're continuing to not follow the law. They're continuing to break the law, even after being released from captivity and given reparations out of this world and everything. They're continuing to go off track. And Ezra is very concerned. I mean, he is beside himself for his people. Talk about loyal to his people. And he's given a lot of instructions. And this is what I was really touched by, is this fast that Ezra was told to, do. Let me find it. Where he was taken away to to a field of flowers. And he was told that he could only eat flowers and herbs for 7 days. That was one of the fasts that he took this fast. And this was just, I was thinking about what that might be like. Can you imagine that? Okay. All right. So he is told to go away from the city, from his people, and to remain still in the field 7 days as the angel commanded, and eat only flowers of the field and herbs, the meat of the herbs. So, flowers and herbs. Can you imagine that? Being in a field of flowers and eating only flowers? Have you eaten any of the edible flowers? Anybody? If I missed you, welcome, welcome. So, what I love about Ezra in the apocryphal text, I love the two together. Like I said, I read it from the canonized version and then second Esdras in the Ethiopian Bible. And because we're flooded now with so much information and opinions, and everybody gets to go in their own little silo of information, and that's where you get a lot of my truth and your truth and our truth and her truth and his truth and all these truths, because people are now isolating themselves into algorithmic little tribes of culture, and there's no more monoculture that we used to have, because we always watched television and we didn't have a lot of choices. Now, with all of this fractionalized culture, all of the division, it has made everything collapse. You see, where if you are trying to uphold a simulation, a fake matrix, you're not going to, it's going to be harder if the system has to be so fractionalized. Reminds me of the fractionalized banking, right? All the fakeness of that. But to only eat flowers, things that are naturally growing, and just not engaging in excess, no interference, no noise, and to begin to receive information from the Most High Yah, where you will hear him so clear. I can imagine when Ezra went to this field of flowers and just eating flowers and herbs, and he had a writing team with him, and they were only eating the flowers and herbs also. And the amount of information that's so clear, I can only imagine how the reception is going to be so strong. You remember in the Bible where it says that now we see through a glass darkly, but one day we will see face to face. And that's what I can see having your communication with the Most High Yah at its most powerful, that everything you see and understand, perceive, is going to be clear, not staticky and not foggy. And just the thought of eating this very different type of diet for 7 days. Could you do it? Could you think you could do it? I would love to try something like this. I think it would be amazing. Just from the beauty of it. Maybe I'm into that part. But it's a lot you can do and incorporate this in your own dietary life, you know. You could grow your own flowers and add them into your diet. But back to how we receive information from the Most High Yah. And I thought about crystal radios. Do you all know about the crystal radios, the antiquitech of the old world that we're told were the Dark Ages? But the crystal radio is, it's technology that's not tethered to something. It's receiving the signals from radio, waves. And we can say a lot about that. What is that? And the fact that it's crystal cleared, it has a crystal in the technology. And I thought about when I read from Revelation, and it describes a reality that is crystal clear. And I'm just thinking of everything when you submit to, in like really intentional prayer and fasting, I'll say. Very intentional. That's where I said a human crystal radio is what I think of, that you become a human crystal radio, and your station is right in tune to hear from the Most High, to speak to you in such a way there is no confusing what you are receiving. And I would love that beautiful experience to be something we could all experience, to have that kind of one-on-one time with the Most High Yah, to get to a place where all that noise and everything is quieted, and you're tuned in to that crystal clear reception, and your perception is crystal clear, your vision, your hearing, absolutely crystal clear. Can you imagine that? Because I am excited about, just like I said, this is a thought experiment also, where I want your imagination to be vibrantly just conceiving of these things, where it could be just a spark of inspiration, that when you pray to the Most High Yah, that you ask for wisdom that is going to be so specific for you to understand for yourself. because there is nothing in this culture for us at this point. We are witnessing a collapse. And the only way to get to beauty again and to have goodness invert the system where good is sought after and bad is pushed away. And people are empowered and courageous to stand up for righteousness and not fear what people will say about you. What? We have really allowed these demonic people to take over so much that so many people were fearful of ever standing up for righteousness. They didn't want to be seen as corny and boring. But goodness is not boring. The mysteries of the Most High Yah that He will share with us, that is not boring. There's nothing boring about it. It's very exciting. So just having that signal coming in crystal clear. And that's truth. Truth. So a lot of us are lacking in the area of perception. You know, how much of this system are we holding on to? Because that will cause us not to get the signal crystal clear, not be able to see through the glass face to face and not darkly. And we don't have to chase revelation. It is prepared for us. And the Most High will speak through so many ways to what, you know, whatever you need to understand a lesson, it will be tailored for you. And the clarity will come the more we spend time, you know, the stripping away of a lot of this stuff that it's empty, it's fake. And it's just time to strip it away and get real so that we can hear our master's voice. When I think about even the gramophone technology, and I told you my grandfather worked at RCA. That's why I have a connection to the gramophone. And this little dog, Nipper, that's what the dog's name from the logo, Nipper. And this is the 1800s. This is the Victor Talking Machine Company in Camden, New Jersey. My grandfather would go over to New Jersey every day from Philadelphia to go to work. So the dog Nipper is listening for his master's voice. And I think it's something to it. It's just something about this logo. And I look at the bell flower of the speaker. It is, you know, designed to look like a flower. And everything, I'm just making these loose connections that I found, just they're just beautiful connections. Let me get out of the way so you can see the whole thing. So, you know, this is the old logo. You know it by this. his master's voice. You can't get any closer than just the love of a dog, the loyalty, and just we can learn so much from animals, especially dogs. Beyond loyal. What do you think? Do you agree? So I know a lot of us, we relate to the whole black sheep. A lot of us, our perception of the world was always that it was always off, a little bit off. We couldn't explain it, but we were the people that, for instance, it's probably you. Whenever I would fly internationally, I know that something's off about the screen in front of me, and what they're telling me is the map of what it looks like outside my window and where we are. And I always knew I couldn't, for one, I can't sleep on international flights. I can't sleep. I don't know why. I'm just up like like I had a shot of coffee and I'm just, walking around talking to people and just doing my thing, whatever. But, eating noodles in the little, they make you a noodle bowl and you could stand around in the galley talking to people. I'm that person. But I just cannot believe that they are flying over these land masses that they're telling me. And I've always felt that something was off, and you probably felt this way too. When you were a child, you liked to be around older people. I just love being around elderly people, mainly. I love the elderly. They were so beautiful to me as a child, and I loved to be around them. I would visit all the elderly people in my grandmother's neighborhood and just go to the store for them and talk to them, and just I love the way they decorated their homes, the beautiful florals. Here we are talking about flowers, and somebody said something about longing for nostalgia. Yes, constantly. Nostalgia is something that I've heard different people describe what they think nostalgia really is. And it's interesting to hear, again, thought experiments on what is nostalgia. Do you think it's something that we are manipulated into feeling? Because nostalgia tends to be the 1950s, right? Am I wrong? Have you gone down the nostalgia rabbit hole? And I think they say that when culture wants to look back at a decade that could engender nostalgia, it would be the 1950s. And when you look at movies that deal with nostalgia, don't they tend to grab from the 1950s? Because by the time the 1960s came around, that was all the tumultuous counterculture movements and the civil rights era. And then you had the Mad Men who were beginning all the onslaught of marketing and selling consumerism. So the 60s were, it wasn't innocent. But the 1950s, they're seen as this innocence right before we lost our innocence. That's what it seems in terms of if you wanted to write a movie script and deal with nostalgia, that would be the time period. To you, IG, to you it's the 80s. I can see why you would say the 80s has a lot of nostalgia, because they were able to bring back this quirky innocence during the 80s and create a bit of a carefree, even though it wasn't. But I see what you're saying. Like the 80s, we had a little more of a perception of innocence right before everything changed, right? 1 minute. So let me see. What else did I want to mention about this flower field? I mentioned that all these divided schools of thought going on right now. We're watching the gender divide. It's cranking up again. I've mentioned this in the last live stream. I see what is happening as the aftermath of this breakup of this couple, that I don't see why a lot of people care about it, but to share their beliefs about Megan the Stallion and this guy, the basketball player, Klay Thompson. And I know someone said this is a form of a psyop, and I can see why you say that. And a psyop that unfortunately people are falling for, and they're getting upset, and the divide between the gender is happening again, where you're seeing a lot of vitriol sharing back and forth, men in the manosphere, which I don't know if there's even a manosphere anymore. I think people are tired of the gender war. It's time that is healed, because it is a manipulated thing, and people are starting to see it for what it is, that it's not real. They are just stoking the fires. Every time it calms down, it's something. But I'm bothered by this latest thing where they're just making this big deal about this breakup, cheating, and it's just bringing out a lot of hateful rhetoric, I'll say, between men and women. So that tells me that the fractured culture and all the fragments, that this is a kingdom divided. So the dark kingdom is divided, and they're fighting. So in the Bible, I distinctly remember that a kingdom divided will fall, right? So you can't have a divided kingdom. And that's where I know that the simulation, this matrix, it is dissolving very quickly. And restoration is what will happen. It's happening now, restoration. So that's what the Most High Yah is into, is restoration. So restoring the foundations again, a new earth, the old earth passing away, and being able to have perception so fine-tuned to the Most High Yah that it's like a crystal radio transmission. His wisdom and his instructions come to us crystal clear. And we must be inclined to him and want that. I mean, don't you want to know mysteries? I know a lot of people want this kind of stuff. It's promised. He will unveil mysteries. and just knowledge, the kind that only he can give. Discernment and safety, true safety, and to be part of the transfer of wealth, where the last will be first. You know, the young people, they talk about eating the rich, and they're really against the wealthy, and they're, this is played out with this Met Gala, and it's ironic, it's very hypocritical, because it is a weird thing. You have Mayor Mamdani not coming to the Met Gala because of the rich people and all that rhetoric, yet his family is very wealthy. So it's a lot of performative stuff. And it can't continue to stand once we recognize it and call it out. It's over. We're recognizing these patterns. So yeah, I've been just excited about this whole thing. Again, when the scripture says that we see through a glass darkly, but it also promises a time where everything becomes clear as crystal. And you think of crystal, the Christ. He is the truth. So he is going to give us the clarity. The Christ, the Messiah. Wow. I'm excited, you all. I don't know. I just can't. I'm going to keep coming with more of these things I wanted to share. Like just the beauty of, I want to grow edible flowers. I want to eat a whole salad of flowers right now. I think that would be so beautiful to start incorporating it into our diets, our daily diets, and just expanding wellness and just making it normal, not exotic and just for the elite. This should be normal. Like I was saying, I was musing last time that every church should have beehives, right? Where they just, I don't know, they have honey, they just leave it out and let people come and take honey. Let the community come, and they can you imagine? They just have God. That's the Most High Yah's medicine. Honey is. Honey can last for thousands of years. It never goes bad. So it is a part of medicinal and preservation. So it has that symbol of preservation. Beautiful. And the healing that is promised to those who lean in to the Most High Yah and do not go after other gods. The Most High Yah is the highest of all. You do not need any idols. No fallen angels, Nephilim. That's all they are. There's no one higher than him. And there's no, you can go directly, no middleman. You don't have to go through a gatekeeper. If you need to get your communication, tune that radio frequency to get that crystal clear communication. If we need to fast, maybe we would be called to fast and just eat flowers and herbs for 7 days. I'm just thinking, what might a person even look like after such? You talk about resetting yourself. That would be, wow. And that's something that, of course, it's how we are led. I know a lot of people, they have given their bodies and over to doctors, and they they have a contract with doctors, and that's I can't speak to that for everybody, but this is a spiritual conversation that happens to deal with wellness and health. It was something we could talk about, and it used to be part of our everyday until the simulation of the Rockefeller education and systems came in and took over our medicinal knowledge and told our grandmothers that they were witches and what, I don't know, whatever name, quacks. I had a grandfather that had a flower garden, flower farm. So our people knew stuff. They used to do a lot of this stuff. They knew that God Almighty, the Most High, is the physician, and that's how they lived. They got rid of parasites from their body. They did cleanses, 4 times a year. Your mother will tell you stories about having to take cod liver oil. Everybody lining up and getting cod liver oil. And those stories are not that far ago. But that's why we have to archive our memories. We have to listen to our older people, because that's a lot of why the younger generation doesn't understand the old ancient path, is because nobody is talking about the stories. Nobody's talking about the grandmother who delivered the whole town. She was a doula. These things need to be actually written down. We need to have scribes in our families, because the young people need to understand the ancient paths. You will awaken something in them. We probably have so many beekeepers in our families, flower farmers, all kinds of things that even masons and builders, real masons, according to the real builders that are called to it. But all of this is being sorted out. It's all being sorted out. Nothing fake will stand. It's all passing away. And you're not bougie to want food that has real ingredients and it's organic and you can trust it. You're not asking too much just to be able to put trust into our institutions, our culture. Well, that is the new earth. That is the world. When we say kingdom come, that's the kingdom to come, where this thing gets inverted and restored back to goodness. This scarcity, this is nothing, is a thing of the past, the scarcity thing. So it's the jubilee to come. What I am sensing and feeling and just praying for, I am very excited, and now I just have to share it. I have to. Okay. So thank you for listening. But that's what I wanted to share, is this beautiful fast of just eating flowers and just herbs. something that, if you love beauty, beauty is returning in our art and music, and we have to add to the beauty. And beauty comes from truth. Truth and beauty go hand in hand. So I want to thank you all. I'll see you real soon and continue the retrospective. This was something I just wanted to share as part of my study that I was so excited about. I wanted to just share it and get your take. Have you, I know one of you mentioned you've read Second Ezra. Anybody else? Let me know if you want to talk about it, chat about it, let me know. Okay. All right. Well, I will see you. I'll let you know next time. Thanks for joining again on Instagram. I'll see you all soon.